Hello people, welcome to this video. My name is Veronica Gonzalez, a student of English Pedagogy, and I'm too excited to do this. In my first video, I will teach you about complex sentences. Precisely two types of a part of the sentences, but in a very particular context. We are going to learn using classic literature in the 19th century. Personally, I chose Jane Austen and her book Northanger Abbey, launched in December of 1817. Okay, but first of all, I have to explain to you what complex sentences are, right? A complex sentence is a sentence that contains an independent clause and one or more dependent clauses, where we use a subordinator who introduces the dependent or the subordinate clause. Dependent clauses can be divided into three types. We have noun clauses, relative clauses, and adverb clauses. But today we are going to focus on these two first types. Let's begin with noun clauses. This type has a typical function of a noun and is divided into four subcategories. The base and most important part of identifying this kind of clause. Please don't be terrified with examples, I'm going to explain everything well. First, we have the structure of our clause, which would be that clause, if whether clause, or WH clause. Then we have the function, which can be divided into subject, direct object, subject complement, and prepositional object. Linked to the function, we have the context. There will be after transitive verb of speaking, after a transitive verb of thinking, after a transitive verb, after a linking verb, after a prepositional verb, or before a conjugated verb. Our final subcategory is main use. It will be a statement, reported speech, or indirect question. Okay, now I know there is a lot of information, but it is my work to clarify your doubts. I will exemplify this with sentences from the book mentioned before, and after that, everything is going to be more explicit. I promise. Okay, here we have our first sentence that says, everybody allows that the talent of writing agreeable letters is particularly female. Before to start analyzing this sentence, we have to ask if it is a complex sentence. After answer that question, we can start analyzing the sentence. We have to look for two subjects, two conjugated verbs, and obviously a subordinator. It would be that, if, whether, or WH word. After we have identified our subjects and our verbs, we have to identify our dependent clause. In this case, it is that the talent of writing agreeable letters is particularly female. This means that our structure is a dot clause. Our function is a direct object. Why direct object? Because everybody allows. Allows what? That the talent of writing agreeable letters is particularly female. Our context is after a transitive verb of thinking, allows, yes, and our main use is a statement. Let's go with our second sentence, which says, pray let me know if they are coming. The question, it is a complex sentence? Yes, it is. Two subjects, two verbs, a subordinator, and a dependent clause. Right? The structure of our clause is if whether clause. Our function, direct object. Pray let me know. Let me know what? If they are coming. The context is after a transitive verb of speaking. And our main use is indirect question. This is our third example, and now we know what we have to do before to start analyzing our sentences, right? This example says, I wonder whether it will be a football or not. In this case, the structure of our sentence is if whether clause. The function is direct object. I wonder. Wonder what? It will be a football or not. Our context is after a transitive verb of thinking. Wonder. Yes? And our main use is indirect question. The person is not asking directly if it will be a football or not. It's wonder, right? This is our last example for this type of clauses. In this case, noun clauses, right? The example says, where people wish to attach, there should always be ignorant. In this case, the structure is a WH clause. We have where as a subordinator. The function is subject. We have our dependent clause at the beginning. The context is before a conjugated verb. In this case, should be. And our main use is as a statement. Here it's not asking, it's not reporting, so it's a statement. I hope everything is clear with noun clauses because now we are moving to relative clauses, which behave like adjectives, and maybe you can confuse these two type of clauses, but here I am to explain something specifically for you to differentiate one from the other. Here we have two subcategories, defining and non-defining. In these two we use subordinators which are relative pronouns and relative adverbs. Before one of these, we have to identify our antecedent, which is a pronoun or a noun, and this is the big difference with noun clauses. Before of subordinator, we have an antecedent and is only a pronoun or a noun. In noun clauses, we had verbs. Now I'm going to define these two subcategories of relative clauses. The first one is defining relative clause, which gives essential information about the antecedent. Without this information, we are not able to understand the sentence. Okay, and here we do not need commas in this type of clause. On the other hand, in noun defining relative clause, this type gives extra information about the antecedent and we use within commas. Okay, now that we know this information, we are going to see the examples. The first one says, she was now seen by many young men who had not been near her before. In this case, our dependent clause is who had not been near her before. The type of this clause is defining. We had essential information about the situation. We don't have commas. The subordinator and the function is who. The function is subject. And our antecedent is men, a common noun. This is our second example and says, I rejoice to say that the young man whom of all others I particularly abhor has left Bath. In this case, our dependent clause is whom of all others I particularly abhor has left Bath. This type is non-defining. As we can see, we have commas, and it is not essential information. It is particularly the thinking of the person. The subordinator and function is whom, the subordinator, and the function direct object. And the antecedent is man. This is our last example, and it says, he seemed to be looking in her countenance for that explanation which her lips did not afford. Our dependent clause is which her lips did not afford. The type is defining. We don't have commas and it's essential information. The subordinator is which and the function is direct object. Antecedent is explanation, a common noun. People, I hope you could understand everything I explained during this video. Obviously, you can leave me comments below asking your doubts if you have, and I will be expecting for you and answering your comments. Obviously, if you like this video, you can give me a like, you can subscribe to my channel, and comment what do you want to learn in the next video. Thank you all. Do not forget to study and remember all my tips. See you.